Attention, ladies and gentlemen. We're now arriving in Detroit. Once again, this is Detroit Woodward Street Station. And thank you for riding Amtrak.
All right. All right. God damn, one of those weeks already, and it's Monday.
Is it? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Welcome again to the Wisendale Weekly Wrap-Up. I apologize, I'm coming with such urgency. We just did a take one, and Felix forgot to hit record on the interface. But anyways, welcome. We are at the Wasserman Projects down in Detroit, and I have a very special guest with me who helped facilitate some of the meetings this week. So go ahead, you can introduce yourself.
Hey, Felix, again.
So silly.
It happens.
It happens. I know.
Anyway, hello. I'm Alison Wong,
yes.
And I am the director and curator of Wasserman Projects.
Perfect. And how long have you been at Wasserman Projects?
I've been here as the director for about 5 years.
Okay.
When we moved into this location in 2015.
Nice.
I joined the team, so we have our big 5-year anniversary coming up
that's
this September.
great. Are you guys doing anything special for the 5-year, or how?
Well, something's changed.
Yeah, right, exactly. Some questions have changed since take one.
Something's changed around the world.
That too. Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
COVID.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the line of questioning.
No. That's too funny. We did have a big exhibition planned, which we did decide to hold off on. So we are taking a totally new approach. We will open our fall season on September 17th. And we are collaborating with a local design group, Form and Seek, actually an international design group that's currently based in Detroit.
Oh, cool.
So we will have over 20-some designers showcasing works that are characteristic of the title of the show, which is Never Normal. So rethinking design.
Nice.
And that'll be paired also with a number of artists that we've worked with previously at Wasserman Projects. So a giant group show.
Very
focusing a lot on the local. And I think it's just a great way to rethink what's happening in the world around us.
Yeah.
Direct a little bit of support inward again. Which we often do in our programming, mixing it together, but we work with a lot of international artists as well. So this way, we keep it homegrown.
Yeah. Is that going to be in person, or is that going to be ticketed?
That's a great question. Who knows what things are going to look like this fall?
Yeah.
It's not trending well right now.
I know.
And it's something we're taking very, very seriously. So since July, for a previous exhibition, we did start opening up to the public by appointment only. All single family visits are limited to groups of 4. And that went very well.
Nice.
So we'll continue with that, and as things change or shift, we will do so accordingly, but taking extreme caution.
Yeah, for sure. And talk a little bit about like how you got to the position that you're in, and how you got with the gallery, and how you started your career.
Sure.
Because if you could comment on that.
Absolutely. So, as you know from take one, long roundabout way, but this is it's always been a passion for me to work in the arts. Working in galleries and museums is where I kind of got my start. But originally studied studio art as a painter. I studied at the Maryland Institute College of Art.
Do you
in
still
Baltimore.
paint?
I do.
Okay,
I
great.
do.
Gosh, great. I thought you were gonna say no. I was gonna die inside a little bit.
No. I think that's a huge important part
absolutely.
of my practice, and I see them as being really intertwined. Getting to understand the drive for artists as an artist, I think, informs what I do as a curator and a director. I have to say I'm not painting as much as I used to, 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
But there's still some activity in that department.
Awesome.
happens in the dead of night when the rest of the world is sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah, you've definitely been, as we said in take one, this will come out sometime in September, but this week is pretty busy for the gallery and a lot of coordination. If you just talk about a little bit about like how it is what it's like to run a gallery of this size. And I know that you said that the gallery started in Birmingham and then came to Detroit. We
can kind of fill in that story a little bit. So the gallery was founded, owner and founder of the gallery is Gary Wasserman. Gary was born and raised in Michigan. He had been involved in a lot of different arts organizations, arts and music, sits on boards of numerous organizations, and also is a collector. So he had spent a lot of time outside of Detroit with his primary business that brought him to Florida and Germany, but he always kept his roots here in Michigan. And in about 2010, he had a number of friends and colleagues interested in what was happening in Detroit at kind of the start of the resurgence, as it's been written about or talked about as. And so, like most people, you don't believe everything that you read. And he was a little skeptical, I think, as he described it, and coming back to Detroit and seeing how things were changing, because he was here in the thick of it. But he came back and he, in his words, said that he did not just drink the Kool-Aid, that he took a nosedive in, was, doing the backstroke. Nice. And he wanted to have a part. He wanted to help in some way and grow the arts and cultural industry here. So when he had started, I mentioned we opened up in this location in 2015, but the gallery actually took a test run in Birmingham in 2013. And it was his first time tackling what it was to own an art gallery. And that informed a lot of how we shaped our mission for what we are today. He didn't want to just have a traditional commercial gallery. While it's an incredibly important part of the arts ecosystem, he wanted to do something that was more personal and more meaningful for him, and hopefully for artists as well. So one core part of our mission is to help facilitate projects for artists that might not otherwise be possible. And what that means is a lot within our model is that we're not rotating exhibitions every month. We are spending sometimes a year or 2 years in advance in development with the artists to talk about the show, to really get to know who they are, to build a relationship with them, and work collaboratively to design these site-specific, oftentimes very, very large scale and elaborate installs here in our space.
And are you reaching out to them, or are they reaching out to you? I guess it's just a mixture of the two, right?
It's all organic.
Yeah, it's all organic? Okay.
I think that a lot of times it's, again, it's about that relationship building. It's about getting to know people. So, I will do hundreds of studio visits, and maybe one out of those is somebody that we explore working with to build out an exhibition. Sometimes they're referrals from artists that we've worked with in the past, introductions that are made in that way. Sometimes artists do reach out to us, and we never turn anyone away. We're always open to have a conversation. That's the idea, is that this is for everyone. The outcome might be different from all the different scenarios, but we want to encourage a conversation about art, and how important it is.
And I know we were talking about like how COVID has obviously affected a lot of things, and I guess if you could speak on more of the traditional sense about going to art fairs, representing different art fairs. Are you participating in that pre-COVID? Were you guys participating in those sort of things?
That's a great question, and that sort of ties back into our mission of creating these art experiences. And as I mentioned, with our typical calendar, doing about 4 big shows every year that run 2 to 3 months. We don't have a traditional relationship with artists as a commercial gallery would in representing artists. So we do not officially represent any artists. Everything is a case by case. So we might consign the works that are here on display. And it's really trying to rethink that relationship between gallery and artist, or institution and artist. Being in Detroit, it's still kind of like an unconventional system, right? We have some of the most incredible artists based out of Detroit, with a handful of galleries, with a handful of collectors who we do have here. They're awesome. But it does set up different scenarios than other cities like Chicago, where you're based, or New York, LA, so on. And so with that, that exclusivity that typically comes with representation, where an artist would be obligated to only show with that gallery would have exclusive rights to sell that work. It's limiting on other opportunities that you can do. Detroit has incredible unconventional spaces like ours, artist runs, independent organizations, nonprofits. So with that, we don't want to take away that opportunity for artists, and then kind of circling back to your question about the fairs, because we're not offering, in exchange for that exclusivity to show those artists, typically galleries will take artists to fairs and then provide opportunities. Since we're not engaging in that same relationship, our focus is really here. The fairs are incredibly important. And we always go.
I was going to say, do you participate?
We participate as visitors,
good.
Which is so great, because I don't have to stand at a booth for like 18 hours a day.
Sometimes like when you see those people at the booths, like it's so like you feel for them, and at the same time it's like, oh man. Especially like on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, they're just ready to leave. And
I mean, they're incredibly important. They're a lot of work, but it's it is very market driven.
Absolutely.
It is not about that stepping into an immersive site specific installation feeling. You're not spending an hour checking out that booth, you know, and we're not spending months building out that booth. So being here, the brick and mortar of the space is quite important. Where we are, being in Detroit, is really important. So the fairs didn't kind of fit into that model for us.
Gotcha.
And that may change. I mean, that's the other thing, is that we are flexible and adaptable. It's another big part of our mission. It's what our community needs, what our audience wants, that changes. We can't just be fixed and this is our mission, this is our program. We want it to be productive.
Total tangent. Did you what did you think about the comedian, the banana at Art Basel? What did you think? I have to get your opinion on it, obviously.
I think in some ways it's, I mean, as controversial as it is, I think it's brilliant.
Right.
I think that's in a lot of ways it's what we're doing here. It's about the concept. It's about the ideas behind the work. It's not just about the physical objectness of it. And with a piece like that, what the collector is buying is the certificate.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think about an artist that we showed a couple years ago, Sarah Mayohas, was creating a parallel between financial investment and the visual art world. And that's, something obviously that goes hand in hand, right?
Drives the market for sure.
But with that, what you're buying when you collect art, when you invest in art, you're not paying for the materials, right? This isn't like, how much did this Corian cost? How much did this acrylic cost? And then you total those things up, and this is the market value of it. What you're buying, what you're investing in is that idea. It's, what does it mean? What is it, where did it come from in the artist's head, in the artist's heart? You're investing in this concept. And it's beautiful, right?
And it's so abstract for people to sometimes wrap their heads around. Like, what? Like, I'm buying that. And I'm like, yeah, it's the idea, it's the concept that you're buying into. So,
but then of course, with the piece, it's poking a little fun at that structure.
Oh,
too,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely. And I can't wait to dive into the artwork we're sitting in front of right now. But yeah, that was a huge, I mean, even it opens up the conversation. It reaches so many corners. Like even my mother was asking me, well, what did you think about that piece? And someone who doesn't really comment on art, like mainstream art. And I think like that was interesting too, right? Like it opens up the spectrum of people hearing about it. And of course, people who don't really, I guess, attend art shows or things like that. It's the typical, that's just artists being artists, like when they see stuff like that, because it's so extreme, right? The concept, the idea. It's crazy. So changing on to the COVID and not doing more of the traditional spaces, I know that you have like a live broadcast going on, or have you seen everything kind of go online too? Or how was that pivot?
That was a huge change for us, like I was talking about so many of these shows that we put together. It's about physically being here. It's about, being immersed in these environments that we've installed, physically walking around pieces and seeing them in person. So it was hard. Yeah. I mean, I think with this show that just recently ended, we were scheduled to open on March 13th, Friday the 13th. And just days, literally, like 3 days prior, we had our first cases in Michigan. So I can't even begin to tell you how heartbreaking that was. We were working around the clock. I mean, just not sleeping, trying to like race to that deadline of our opening reception. And luckily, Gary had the foresight to call and say like, we really need to think about this. We've got to cancel the opening. And it was absolutely, without any question, the right call.
Absolutely.
We were bringing in 500-600 people to an opening, if not more. And so just kind of rallying the team and the artists to sit down and say that like, at that time we had no idea, there was
the
always,
scale of it, right? Yeah.
I know. I mean, there was that hope like, okay, well maybe we can have a closing reception in May. And then come May, like let's extend the show.
I know, we're already in August.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
And
it's going so fast.
And it was hard, but like, we're artists, we're creatives. This is, we come up with creative problem solving. And so we were, we stepped up to the challenge and got all of our documentation in place. We ended up doing a number of virtual tours, and I have to say, it doesn't replace seeing work in person, but we were able to engage such a broader audience in some ways. You didn't have to live in Detroit or be visiting in town to experience it. So, we had attendees on our Zoom tours from all over the world. We also had the opportunity, Adrian, whose work we're sitting among right now, is based in Chicago. So he was in attendance with Jordan and Steve Coy, giving an artist-led tour. So like imagine that. And opening with like hundreds of people. Like you don't get a full hour walkthrough with the artist.
No,
right?
Absolutely.
So it was great.
Yeah, we really had I'm part of the MCA Emerge group where for the emerging artists, and we had an artist-led gallery tour. And it was great. The only problem was his artwork used mirrors and a little bit of reflectivity in it. And you couldn't really get the full experience of it from a camera, which I wish that we could have went there in person, but it was just obviously too dangerous. But it was really interesting to see everybody pivot and still try to make sure that the art is definitely a little bit more at the forefront. But it did open up. I think we had the most in attendance because it's a small group, and of course you go there when you can. But it's interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, I think you take these and you try to find the positive in it. You try to problem solve and create new opportunity through it. And it's, who's to say you're doing the right thing, or
Absolutely.
are you doing enough?
You're just doing, though.
And you just keep pushing through.
Absolutely.
I mean, to me, it is so important. Artists need so much support right now, and they always
Agreed.
have, right?
Yep.
That, there's something that during all of this, being shut down is, it's just a necessity. But this subconscious feeling of that, of being a non-essential business, I think that's tricky, because it is essential, right? Art is incredibly vital to how we connect with others, how we understand things from different perspectives. And so any other way that we can communicate those things and provide that moment of beauty, of joy, of critical thinking, we just have to try alternate ways to get that out. Yeah,
absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to Meredith from Hayworth, at Hayworth, for introducing us. Again, it's all about relationships, and I have a pretty strong relationship with the Hayworth team in Chicago, and she was the first person that reached. She was like, "Hey, I'm gonna reach out to Alison, hardest worker I know," and for sure. And I want to say thank you for everything that you've done for this week. Definitely.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. We have to champion what we've got. And Detroit's got a lot.
Absolutely.
And Meredith is a prime example of that. She is the best and has been a great friend to the gallery. So
nice.
Thanks, Meredith.
Yeah. and comments on the Eastern market, like how has that changed within the past 5 years? I know that murals in the market started, I want to say like 4 years ago.
Maybe a little bit more. Yeah.
4, 5.
Time is such a fluid thing right now.
It really is. But it's definitely changed.
I think 3 or 4 years. The market has changed, and then in a lot of ways it hasn't. I mean, the Eastern Market Corporation has done a pretty amazing job at keeping its core focus on food production. And that's what makes it really special, and I think that's why it was a perfect place for us. It has this historic character. And function. It's not a city that's been, or a neighborhood that's been completely wiped from its past. And then transformed. I think that's the thing about Detroit and how it's changed in the last 5 years, 10 years, and continues to adapt. But it's not, Detroit is a city that's not trying to rebuild to what it was. It's not a city that is trying to replicate what other cities are doing. It's evolving into this totally new thing that's kind of magical. And not without flaws, not without having to go 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It is this moving target. It is this living, breathing thing. And I think that what I love about the city is that our community really pulls together, and that we're generally speaking a very collaborative place. And I think Eastern Market has been such a welcoming home for us in that respect. A place 10 years ago where, everyone would come down for the market on Saturdays, but ghost town Sunday through Monday, right? Or whatever, from Monday to Sunday. Right?
I gotcha.
It's this, so there's been a lot of change, different businesses, some that are thriving, some that are struggling, some, historic businesses that have made it through, and some that are still, that we've lost. But, I think
everybody, not to cut you off, I think everybody has been hit. Everybody's been hit in different ways. I went to a liquor store before coming here to grab some wine, and the liquor store was closed. And it was a pretty big liquor store. And those are one of the things that everybody says everybody wants is liquor and cigarettes or whatever. And that shop was closed down. And who's to say why it's shut down? But it has an effect on everybody for sure.
Yeah.
And what about your like personal collection? What do you like out of your own personal style? Like if we were to see into Alison's apartment or house, what kind of artwork do you collect?
So that's a great question. So many things. It's, you know, I have a pretty eclectic taste, but that really perfectly mirrors, you know, what we do here at Wasserman Projects. It's about this meaningful connection to art, and so it's not just about the aesthetics. So I've quite a range of works, but every single piece is by an artist that I've, you know, a really honest and long-lasting friendship with. And I have to say, during the stay-at-home order, to be surrounded by all of my friends,
oh yeah,
you know, it made every day okay.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that's such a fascinating thing about living with art and about collecting, and that's the approach that, you know, we want to share with folks. Is, you know, it's so much more than just the raw material of the thing. It's not just the object, it's all of the ideas behind it.
Yeah, it's the concept.
It's the person and their life.
Yep.
You know, the person who created it, and all of their experiences, all of their thoughts, and all of their feelings.
Yeah.
And so each piece, each piece of my collection is more than just the thing in itself. You know, it carries this story.
And I'm sorry, I'm getting so confused on what we did on the first take and the second. I don't know if that's happening to you too, but
a little bit. So
like,
if
did we
I've
just talk
repeated
about
anything, sorry about that. Hopefully it was the same.
Well,
but you know, one thing we didn't talk about, Felix, in take 2 is our little role reversal.
I know, so that's what
right?
I was gonna, and then I was gonna lead it into Adrian's work. But if you could talk about the 708 area code. Yeah,
so my 708 area code is just a long-standing holdout from where I grew up, in the south suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
So I grew up in Park Forest, and then later in Homewood. Before I moved to MICA to Baltimore for my BFA. And then what brought me here to Michigan is that in 2004, I started my MFA in painting at the Cranbrook Academy of Art in Bloomfield Hills. And I just never left. This is home now, and
Very cool.
I love it. And so you, Felix, are from Detroit originally, and based in Chicago now. Right?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I moved to Chicago in 2003 and then went to Harrington, which is an interior design school, which is no longer. So shout out to all my Harrington alum who have no alma mater anymore. And then moved to New York and then came back to Chicago. But Detroit has always been on top of mind and trying to really give back and also be a part of those conversations that are happening with rebuilding in Detroit. So that's why I'm grateful that now we are able to really connect with people and find out what the work is like and find out what the community's doing, whether it's art or design. And I know throughout this whole week we have various people throughout the lineup, so I'm pretty excited about all of that. But and I wanted to comment on, I wanted to give a shout out to Baltimore, because last year at Art Basel I saw a few galleries from Baltimore showing at some of the satellite art fairs. And I thought it was really nice to see a different city in the shows, because you see all the the regulars, the New Yorks, the Los Angeles or San Francisco, then you see all the Milans and the international cities. But I told the guy at the gallery, and I looked through, and I said, it's really good to see you guys out here. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, we're in the conversation now. And I goes like, that was a perfect response to the actual larger art scene. But yeah, so the cross-pollination between cities like Chicago and Detroit is pretty strong. Obviously, we did the reversal. And then if you could just talk a little bit about Adrian's work here that we're sitting in. For those of you listening on the podcast through the iTunes or Spotify, you can also hit up our YouTube and see the visuals. So go ahead.
Awesome. So, yeah, this is part of the installation from our spring into summer exhibitions.
So did it extend?
It did. It did. And then now I'm drawing a blank if we said this in the first take or the second, but we were scheduled to open on March 13th,
right.
And then extended into middle of August. So we just closed this exhibition, and you know, we'll post and we'll take you through some of the video documentation of the exhibition.
Yes.
But we had a 2-person exhibition, technically 3. So Dorota and Steve Coy, who are a duo based here in Detroit, and paired that with work from Adrian Wong, who is based in Chicago currently, professor at SAIC.
I don't want to cut you off. If you can talk at some point about the setting that Adrian, or not, sorry, Nate and Nate
yes.
and I just sat in.
Yeah,
Because I think that would be interesting that
and
people
then I
can,
think this might be a good time for it, like if you were to edit.
Right,
you know,
exactly. Like cut through.
So we can take care of this in post, right? So yeah, the 2 exhibitions with the Coys and Adrian Wong was just a project that we were working on for over a year in development, and it could not have been more timely. So the Coys, a little back history on their work, as I mentioned, based in Detroit. They kind of came to a good bit of recognition based on a long-term conceptual art project called the Hygienic Dress League Corporation, which they started about 10 years ago. And this concept was it's a legally registered corporation in the state of Michigan. It is a corporation who has gone on record as saying their mission is to promote their mission. They sell nothing, they earn nothing. But they're using this as a conceptual platform to talk about commerce, to talk about branding, advertising. So they're operating within the very structure in which they're critiquing. And so with that, this branding. That's
very artist. That is very artist.
It is a very conceptual art project, but how it
I love it though.
Yeah, no, totally. But it's really how it manifests. So they've done quite a few projects, public works, lots of interventions in, abandoned buildings, on billboards, murals throughout the city. So this was a big undertaking in sort of a gallery setting exhibition, and became quite a bit of a retrospective of their work. But it all stems from the ideas that the Hygienic Dress League Corporation project explored. And so the executives of this corporation are always, donned in full respirator gas mask wear, with, business attire. So that became quite a logo for their brand. And some of the ideas when we started the exhibition, we're thinking about climate change and other global issues, things that were, potential catastrophic risks for humanity. Mm-hmm. And so inadvertently, we're focusing on depletion of natural resources, on, climate change and global warming, but all looped in together is pandemics, global warfare, conflict, all of these things that, honestly, Felix, we couldn't have planned it.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Right?
When Meredith told me about it, I go, it's perfect. Like, I literally told her, I said, how great is that timing? She's like, yeah, you couldn't plan it any better, for sure.
And so all of their 5 installations, the exhibition is titled The 5 Realms. So there are 5 completely separate immersive spaces. And each of those 5 realms took a look at one version of a speculative future. So everything from a blackened forest with a life-size gilded and gold rhinoceros to the space that Nate was in, this hypothetical museum 10,000 years in the future, with these fossilized plastic products, with a tablet using a number of different prescient emojis, like the face mask emoji, aerosols being coughed at another person emoji, and pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then of course, the bust wearing respirator. So, these are images and things, different scenarios of what the future might look like if we don't take precaution or change our actions today. The last of the 5 realms ends in this crazy looking futuristic boutique, and just like a very high-end store aesthetic. But on the shelves in the store are cans of air and water and food. So something that, we're there, right?
Yeah, we're damn close for sure.
I think that, given COVID, right?
Yeah.
Like access to clean air and water and food is something that not everyone was afforded during this time. And so it speaks to, this greed and wealth inequality. It speaks to accessibility of basic human needs. And then things, also in the shop were these rhinestone, crystal encrusted respirators. And so, that's also something that you're seeing now, right? So all of that said, it was a wild time to have this show. And
so do you help the artists like reimagine that as well, or like what happens to that showing now after that they've left the gallery?
yeah,
Yes, I'm very curious because that's so on the nose right now, and
Totally.
it's very, in order to make all of those pieces of artwork, it probably took a lot of time. And even since the pandemic hit, it would be hard pressed for a designer to make, or an artist to make like such great pieces in the time frame to have another show. So how do they capitalize on that wave that's created without their doing, but it's very fitting?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we do everything we can to help continue supporting artists that we've worked with. So, having conversations about placing some of the large scale works in public spaces is something that we're working with the Kois on. A traveling exhibition is also an opportunity. If there are other spaces that are interested in taking that on, we would certainly help facilitate that. It's always up in the air, and we're open to anything. It's a show that really deserves to be seen, and that again has been the heartbreaking part of this.
Yeah.
We were lucky to extend it as long as we had, but still didn't get
Crazy.
Nearly the audience that it should have had we been in different circumstances.
And that's unfortunate because it did. It should, that's what's frustrating, I'm sure.
But, again, we're adaptable. It will live on. We were able to produce a catalog, getting great still photography from our photographer, P.D. Rurik. We had the entire show video documented by Cast Corridor Films. So working with all of our amazing and talented arts professionals here in Detroit,
That's great.
This exhibition will live on long after
that's
the physical
awesome.
pieces leave our space.
Yeah.
So all of that, long way to get around to Adrian's work here.
Yeah, right.
That conversation, what we do, it's quite important to us, and our curatorial vision is creating that history and that conversation and creating those connections. So the Kois project is certainly, all encompassing and really broad sweeping and poignant right now, but to put it into a conversation with another artist is something that, helps expand that dialogue. And so while the Kois are exploring this speculative future, paired with Adrian, who explores this speculative past, Adrian's work is definitely a retrospective, a collection of works that he's created over the past 10 years to present. He was based in Hong Kong for about 14 years prior to moving to Chicago about 2 years ago. And so a lot of this work stemmed out of his time there. And it explores this tradition and this past imagery, symbols, icons that whether we're aware of them or they're just part of our genetic makeup, they present themselves in present day design, and environments. So Adrian's pulling from a lot of historic elements throughout Asian culture, from religion to architecture and design. So it's a perfect pairing here. So we're, what you can't see on the other side of the screen is we were adjacent to where the Hygienic Dress League boutique installation was set up. And what's happening here in this environment, these barber poles are ubiquitous elements throughout Asia that are posted outside of different shopping districts. And with this kind of elaborate coded vocabulary, each color, each thickness of stripe, the speed and direction of rotation, they all communicate something very specific to the potential clientele.
And that is like history, or is that something in the concept of the pieces?
No,
or
that's something that actually happens.
Yeah, okay, cool. Just clarifying on that.
So you could be walking down a shopping district in Hong Kong, and when you see, a giant orange and white striped, barber pole, that might mean that store carries knockoff Hermes.
Gotcha.
So each thing signifies something else, whether it means, who the services are meant for. So for brothels, what kind of clientele they're appealing to. That might be signified by, stereotypical gendered colors like blue and pink, right? So each one, intentionally references and communicates to the audience. And so he's taking this concept, and what it is, you're totally overwhelmed by this cacophony of visual signifiers. So in Adrian's installations, some of them come from direct reference points, some of them become these sort of aesthetic decisions, but they're referenced from different shops that he would see in Hong Kong, and they're intentionally sort of densely layered within this installation. So when everything gets flipped on,
do you want to flip it on?
Yeah, sure thing.
Okay.
Let me detangle myself here.
For those of you listening, there are 3 large installations here. She just flipped it on, and it's interesting the speed and the direction that they're going in as well.
Yeah.
Like so the 2 back ones are 2 are going up, the one's going down, and they're moving quite fast, rapidly.
Yes.
Did he talk about the decision on that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is meant to be overwhelming. It's meant to be dizzying. That's part of the allure and the magic of cities like Hong Kong.
Yeah, I've never been. I want to go.
It's almost like being in this dream state. You're kind of floating through a sea of people, of shops, of products, of sounds, smells. It is totally a sensory overload, and he's recreating that through this rapidly beating rotation.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's great. And how long does an installation like this take? Is he sending everything together, or how long does it?
So a lot of stuff happens here on site. So with Adrian's collection of works, a good amount of it was shipped in advance from Chicago on a truck by his awesome studio assistant.
Yeah.
And then our team, with instruction from the artist, we created the layout and install and took care of a lot of that prior to Adrian's arrival.
Yeah.
And then he came here on site to do some
quality
additional
control.
build out. So all of these barber poles that we're sitting around today, these were all constructed on site.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. The different elements were produced in advance, and then they were assembled here.
And then the masses that were sitting in as well.
Yeah.
Those are his?
So these are another really interesting story. I'll try to give the abbreviated version.
Yeah.
But again, all of this information is available on our website as well. So these are components that Adrian took and repurposed from a previous exhibition called "The Tiger Returns" or "Return to Tiger Mountain." I'm sorry. The Tiger Returns to the Mountain. Long
Mashing
day.
them all. Yeah, right.
So you feel free to edit that out. Anyway, these pieces came from a previous exhibition of Adrian's in Hong Kong, where he was referencing decor and rock formations that were part of the now defunct Tiger Balm Garden, which was one of Asia's first theme parks, established by the purveyors of Tiger Balm ointment. So it was this kind of mix of so many different historic references, from natural land formations to recreations based on illustrations, and kind of pulled from every which source. Adrian did quite a bit of research on this amusement park, and found historic photographs which he used to model these formations after. So some of the colors are actually aged to the photographs themselves, which gives them this kind of distinct, kind of dusty look to them.
Yeah.
And then for the exhibition here at Wasserman Projects, we selected a few of the different rock formations from that installation. He also created some larger compositions. So we brought this one out, which is actually one part of a large installation, a composition with a number of different
Can I touch
rocks.
it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all molded fiberglass forms.
Okay.
So they're incredibly durable. It would have been the same process that they used for the amusement park.
Yeah.
So these will withstand weather. They can be put inside or out.
Very cool.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. They feel, again, that like surreal quality, feeling small in a big city. Even a city like Chicago, when you're, walking down different districts and, looking at the different shops or these kind of like surreal public parks and things like that. It's almost like you're inside in this piece. There's a large green rock formation. To me, it feels very much like an aquarium rock where you've been shrunk down. Right?
Yeah, these are great. These are definitely, and all of the pieces are for sale then. So I know like I don't think we touched on that. Yeah. So I know that the format or the program is non-traditional, but is it traditional in the sense that everything you see is for sale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
With some very rare exceptions. Certain things that might be designed to built specifically just in the space. So we do a lot of environmental build out just to set the stage for the works that are for sale. But yes, works are for sale. Yeah,
the forest, the dramatical entrance is very, very, very cool. So I wonder how is that individual piece for sale, or like what would something like that be?
Yeah, so for that particular installation, the Black Forest installation, so the sculpture that's in it, the
focal point,
gold rhinoceros, that piece is available.
Gotcha.
But then the individual components of the installation, they're natural felled branches that we scavenged throughout the city and painted and installed individually, one at a time. If a client were interested, we happily recreate something like that. But it's so specific to the size and shape of the space that it wouldn't be exactly that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, tell us anything else going on that everybody should be aware of. Like I said, it'll probably come out in September. I don't know. Any initiatives or any different exhibitions that will be running at that time?
So I think you did mention with our fall show, we're focusing back here to Detroit with a number of different, about over 20 designers, and that should be a really really great way to kind of think about art and design and how critical it is to our experience in life, just navigating our day to day, especially as so many of us are spending more time at home than maybe ever. Our relationship to objects, these things are, they have personalities, they change the way that you might feel at a given moment, or your ability to function. And so anyway, I think that show should be really great. With it, we have a new initiative that I'm quite excited about, as we are, like I said, constantly adapting, and especially now, given COVID, we are launching Wasserman Works, which is an online shop. So in addition to our large scale exhibitions, we'll be able to focus on some lower price point, accessible objects, design and fine art objects, all within a price point $5,000 and under. All available online, all kind of scaled appropriately to do a quick pack and ship worldwide. So
awesome.
This way, I think it's a great opportunity to engage a broader number of artists and collectors. Bring a little bit of joy and a little bit of art into your homes. Yeah,
for sure. Well, thank you, and thank you again so much for the help for this week. And where can people follow Wasserman Projects, or anything, social media or website?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website is www.wassermanprojects.com. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and yeah, definitely. Please take a look. It's always exciting. Like I said, even though the shows do rotate and the works come down, we make sure to have a really strong archive of all of our past exhibitions, and I encourage everyone to look at some of the past artists we've worked with. Like I said, they're like, extended members of our family. And we think that they're doing such amazing work, and we want to continue promoting it and making sure that they have an audience and a healthy career. Forward.
All right. Well, thank you, Alison. Get some rest.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything, for sure.
Of course.
Alrighty.
Thank you.